Welcome to the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And now, your host, Heather Newman.
Hello, everyone. Here we are for another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts who bring a light to our world. And I could not be more excited to have a wonderful friend and colleague on today. We have Johnny Crockett Lopez coming to us from Houston, yes?
Hey, yes, good morning, good afternoon.
Awesome. Yay! So Johnny and I were together a couple months ago at the SharePoint Saturday New York City. That was amazing. Tom Daly and crew put on a great event there. So we had a chance to chat a little bit and also go to a dueling piano bar.
That was interesting. Yes, that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I'm like trying to think about how long we've known each other. It's been a while. I don't even know.
It's been about, I think, 3+ years.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
It's been a good while.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. And so you are currently working at, and we just talked about this, Schlumberger. Yes, so I pronounced it correctly.
Yes. Schlumberger.
Schlumberger, yeah. And tell everybody what you do there.
Yeah, so at Schlumberger, which is a oil and gas services company that spans over about 185 countries and has over 100,000 employees, I am an Office 365 and SharePoint architect / engineer / evangelist / just doer. I focus mostly on the Office 365 suite of things. Yep. I come from a SharePoint background, and I also manage the Power Platform here at Schlumberger. So,
wow, that's amazing. And / you're an awesome, sweet person. So let's put that in there too.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And so you looking at obviously knowing you a little bit and getting to know you over the last bit, but you've also you've really been in the either oil and gas or energy world forever. Yeah.
I have over 10 years of experience with oil and gas energy, and then also some experience in the military.
Yes. Thank you for your service, by the way. Thank you. Navy.
You're welcome.
Is that the Navy,
My pleasure.
right? Yes.
Yes. I was in the Navy for 10 years, collectively some active duty and some reserve. I served on 2 aircraft carriers, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and the USS Nimitz.
Wow.
I've been on 2 deployments, and I was actually an electrician in the Navy on the aircraft carriers.
Wow, that's amazing. I've been on the Midway down here in San Diego before, and they're so big and crazy and amazing and just wow. How was that? What was that like?
It's a floating city, 5,500 people on a ship.
Wow.
It's just amazing watching the planes fly off and land on the aircraft, and watching the helicopters go to and from, and it's just amazing on the amount of manpower it takes to run these ships.
Yeah.
You get 3 square meals a day,
mm-hmm.
And then they also have hot dog bars and different types of things. So the food is kind of different because they cook for bulk. I think that's my biggest experience with the food. We can't just go dine out and eat those fancy dinners every night. You had to get what was served. So it was.
Wow, that's amazing. And I don't know enough about this, but as far as the other 2 aircraft carriers, do they deploy out of the same places all the time? Like, are they they have their place and then you get deployed from there, or do they move around a bit?
Yeah, so there's home ports. I think they relocate the home ports probably every 5 to 10 years. From an aircraft carrier's perspective.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been on an aircraft carrier that moved their home port, but I know the Nimitz has gone from San Diego to Seattle. Could go sometimes on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on what's needed by the country.
Yeah, and the missions that are happening. No, that makes sense. Wow, that's such a cool experience. And I know that you and I share a bit of community leadership in that, I work here in Los Angeles on a lot of things, our SharePoint Saturday and our user group, and you've been the head of the SharePoint Saturday and the user group for a long time in Houston. How have you seen that grow from the time you sort of took things over?
It's had its ups and downs. When SharePoint was really popping, in the late 2000s and 2010 time frame.
Yeah.
We would get anywhere between 100 and 150 per session, which is 150 people each month. So we meet on the third Wednesday of each month at the Microsoft Center here in Houston.
Yep.
It's grown, it's gone down, we're about 60 to 70 people. We renamed ourselves last year. We used to be called the Houston SharePoint User Group. Now we are the Houston Office 365 community.
Yeah.
So we went from a user group to more of a community-based focus where we can we have a more wider range of technologies that we can speak about.
Yeah, I think everybody, like a lot of us who are in this, work, who have been involved in user groups or the SharePoint Saturdays, are feeling that too, right? SharePoint's still as wonderful as it's ever been and going like gangbusters, but I think obviously with the onset of Microsoft Teams and some of the other technologies and just Office 365 in general as a productivity technology platform, it makes sense, right? The brand is so strong for SharePoint though, right? And the community is so strong. It's kind of hard to go there, but I think that people are making that transition, a lot of the different user groups.
Absolutely, SharePoint definitely has a strong brand. It's pretty much the backbone to a lot of things like Teams and OneDrive and those different types of technology. So definitely there's a user presence there, a technology presence, but because of the larger ecosystem of Office 365 and Azure and Power Platform,
right?
It's just going to be you got to keep SharePoint in there. So we also changed SharePoint Saturday. It's AKA SharePoint Saturday, but it's the Houston Office 365 Saturday. So we've brought in more. We bring in about 10 to 15 Microsoft MVPs from across the country, sometimes across the world. Yep. And we have about 5 Microsoft speakers that usually speak at our event.
That's cool.
So, and then, and we try to get some local up-and-coming speakers. I always save slots for them. Yeah. Because we've all started from somewhere. Yep. And, we have to make sure that we're getting fresh faces and fresh topics in the community to present to our user base here in Houston.
Yeah, I believe in that too. I think that's super important. We worked on this year for ours, because ours is coming up September 28th, and oh my gosh, I can't even believe it, in like 2 weeks, and or like less than that, and like kind of even a more like 101 track, because I think sometimes we forget that we may have been doing this. I mean, I realize it's been 18 years for me since I started on the team way back in Redmond, when it was called the Code Name and all of that. But there's still people that are new to this and haven't had, all the experience. And so, like, having some more of those 101 tracks and or first-time speakers giving those, I love that, too. I love that you're doing that. That's super cool. I have a question. So, I know you're a beautiful speaker, by the way. I love your sessions.
Thank
You're
you.
so wonderful at all of that. And do you remember, what was your first speaking? And it could be in the tech space or wherever, but when did you, like, step on the stage for the first time? Do you remember?
So I actually did a Share conference. I don't know if you remember Share.
Of course. Yeah.
So, my first speaking was a Share conference. I want to say it was back in like 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. I met Dux, Ray and Sai during that time, and since then we've always stayed in touch and become friends in the community as well. Right. So I think that was the first time I spoke, and it was about SharePoint. So I did a lot of SharePoint training back in oil and gas, so doing a lot of how to use SharePoint, when to use it, building lists, building libraries, SharePoint sites, permissions, the whole gamut of SharePoint 2007, 2010, and then 2016 and 2013 and 2019 and whatever flavor they come out with next. And that's my passion. My passion is, educating and helping people become more proficient in the technology to better their workload or better their lives in general. So, and that's why I do this.
Right. Yeah, no, that's totally awesome. Yeah, and you were just at SP TechCon too, right?
I was. I did a couple sessions, a couple workshops. I did 2 workshops, and I did a session. I've been doing a lot more around Microsoft Search. I think it's a really good technology that could help tremendously improve search in organizations.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I love that show. It's like, remembering when all of these things happened, when it first started, it was, it was like SharePoint TechCon and SP Fest, and I think, gosh, it was like some of even the E2.0 and some of those things, and like to see them have blossomed into what they are is super cool. And that they're still around, and that they're still drawing people. It's pretty cool. I have a question about your hashtag, Learn It All versus Know It All. Where did that come from? And will you talk a little bit about that? I think that's so awesome.
Absolutely. So I stole this from someone else. This was a speaker at, I can't remember exactly who it was, but she was talking about the learn it all mentality versus the know it all mentality. And I think it's very important, especially in today's technology with the combination of, you have a lot more IT pros that / business analyst / I need to work with a business to get a common task done.
Right.
So you see more personality in IT than you did 10, 20 years ago.
Yep.
So I think it's very important to learn it all. So you're always learning. So once you stop learning is when you start turning stale. Instead of having the know-it-all mentality where you walk into a room and you just, you just think you know everything, and it just becomes a very difficult situation, with other people as well. So always willing to learn, always wanting to learn, and it makes it a lot easier to work with people when you're constantly learning with them, and it builds rapport, right? So if you can learn something from them, they feel empowered. And that's the other thing, is you want to empower people. You want to make them feel like they're contributing just as much as you are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's about empowerment and value, right? And it's funny, I giggled because I use the hashtag always learning a lot as well, and I was like, like great minds, peas in a pod. So I was like, that's super cool. So
yeah, I like that. I just gravitate towards it because that's my personality. Like I'm always, always looking to learn something, whether it's SharePoint, more SharePoint, or Power Apps, Flow, those different types of things, or just learning about the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, and so tell me about, let's go way back to the way back, like in the station wagon, which millennials, the station wagon is a very large car that we all used to ride in the way back facing out, which was, I don't know, kind of silly if you think about it, because when you put the kids back there and it's like, well, if you get rear-ended, that's trouble. But anyway, like your way back, like talk about where you're from and where you came up and all that fun stuff.
So I actually started out as a user. So one day, many moons ago, I guess it was about 10 plus years ago, we had this thing called SharePoint 2003, and I actually learned it in the military. So we would use this to manage some of the kind of like our standard operating procedures or our task work orders in SharePoint. So I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I like this. So I started doing, started learning it, started doing more research. And then I got interested in like, hey, there's a free training for learning how to be an administrator on SharePoint 2003.
Gotcha.
So it was a CBT the military provided. It was like a 10-hour, self-paced course. Took it, passed it, got that badge, and just from there, just decided this is what I wanted to do in my career. I was already going to school for business information systems, so I kind of had the business savvy. And then also a little bit of IT, so I decided just to go full-fledged. Hey, I'm going to start my way through working as a user to a business analyst to an administrator to an IT pro to architect, and that's kind of where I come from. So I started at SharePoint 2003, and I've kind of grew up with the evolution of SharePoint and how it's helped and how it's hurt and how it's come in between. So
right,
very good platform. I think it's very collaborative and user-friendly as we can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're a busy fella. You run around and, do all these speaking engagements. You obviously have a full-time job. And I love seeing on Facebook all your pictures of your sweet breakfast crew a lot of the times and all of that. So how do you balance being a dad and doing all this amazing stuff that you do, not only to get paid for it, but for free and all of that? What's your balance? How do you do that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because managing the user group and the SharePoint Saturday, and then I also operate. I'm a co-owner for the Houston Power Apps and Flow user group.
Oh, wow.
Helping them get started.
Okay.
But yeah, you know what? I surround myself with good people. We have a good support crew, not only from the community perspective, but also from my home life. I have two beautiful kids of my own, and then I foster my nephew full time.
Uh-huh.
So it can be challenging sometimes, but there's a lot of late nights. So kids go to bed at 8. I plug in and get some stuff done in the evening time, or early morning, those different types of things. But I always find a good work-life balance. I don't work too much. I want to focus on family. I'm to that point in my career where I really want to focus on my family. My son's 4. My daughter's going to be 7, losing her second front tooth. So I want to make sure that I'm there for those memories and there for their pickups at school and drops off and those different types of things, because I'm heavily involved. I love family, very family oriented. Yeah. I think I look at the community as a family as well.
Yep.
So I really make time for that and to make sure that yes, there's work on the desk, but at the end of the day, that work's going to be there when you get to the next day.
Yeah.
And it's not as critical as time with your family.
Absolutely. I think that's a thing I love about our SharePoint community, our Microsoft community, and that, we know each other. It's not just that we like pop in and speak and take off or whatever, but that, I actually know that you have kids because we're connected and we talk about those things, or when things happen and we need each other. I've seen that in my own community recently here with some things where people needed some support, and I love that we feel brave and or vulnerable enough to say, hey, I need some help, or could you give me a shout out, or I just put all of this stuff together, might you just hit the share button once, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And I'm glad that we have that, and because not every place does.
Not every place does, yeah.
Yeah, and how is, so you've been at Schlumberger for, I kind of just want to say that word over and over because it sounds so fun in the mouth, but you've been there almost a year, yeah? How, is that, it's a big company, right?
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like working for the large organizations, but also like working for the mom and pops. Schlumberger has been really good to me as far as allowing me to advance in my personal and also my career growth.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to find. So when you go interview for a company and you go work for a company, they're evaluating you, but you should also evaluate that company.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that this is where you could potentially work for the rest of your career, or this could be a learning a stone for yourself to be able to move up and out. And that's what I had to do early in my career. I had to learn, okay, is this something that, yes, I could probably stay here for 20 years and just do the same job, but I needed to move up and out in order to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And, I've worked for, a few oil and gas companies, like Halliburton and Anadarko, which is now Oxy,
right.
And, Energy Transfer, large pipeline company. And I've been in management from manager to director and those different types of things. But, I really have passion for that daily contributor kind of architect role.
Yeah.
And again, this company has allowed me to do that and allowed me to grow and just be more productive in my career and have a family life. And that's what I look for. And that's what I've been looking for the last, 5+ years.
Yeah.
To be able to do those types of things. So
yeah. And I love it when companies connect that sort of trust-based positive culture into, of course we all need to work and pay for our lives and all of that stuff, but it also, it's like when it's a good place to work, we spend a third of our lives at work, and if they're actively creating programs and or just trying to connect people on a larger level, I love that. It's nice to hear that a company that big does that sort of thing for you. That's super cool, because that's not always the case. Yeah. Do you find that? Let's talk about Texas for a minute. I lived in Texas for a little while. I lived in Dallas for 3 years when my ex-husband was in grad school, and It was interesting because I was from the Midwest and then spent a lot of time on the West Coast, which is all very, kind of crunchy and, like all of that. And then living in Texas, I was just like, wow, everything's so big here. Like everything's big. Big cars, big hair, big teeth, big ideas, big, big, big. And you're a Texan. You're from Houston, right? Originally. That's your hometown.
Yes.
Yeah. What's Texas like for everybody? I mean, like, where's your heart about that?
Yeah, so, I was born and raised in Texas, born and raised in Houston. I've lived outside of Texas for a number of years, being in the military and kind of traveling a little bit.
Sure.
Texas is, it's my home. It's a great place to be for me. The state and the communities take care of each other. I mean, as you see in the news, we have natural disasters like hurricanes, just like you guys have, the earthquakes and mudslides and fires. We also have that disaster here, but there's a really good community. It comes together. Houston is the fourth largest city. I think it's fourth, maybe third now. The largest city in the country, and it's growing. So I think at one point in time there was 1,000 people a week coming to Houston each week, and the growth here is just tremendous. But it's historic too as well. So I can drive 3 hours anywhere in the state and see history. And be part of it. Be at the Alamo in San Antonio. Go to the Hill Country, in Austin, and go up to Dallas and look at hey, the Cowboys are up there, right? So, go down to Corpus, and we have the Battleship of Texas that's still there for now. It's supposed to be moving in November. But there's so much history here, and there's so much culture in it, and it's diversity, and I really enjoy that about Texas. I've been to other places. I've lived in the Midwest. I lived up in Michigan. I lived in Virginia, in Chicago. I've been on the East Coast. I actually played baseball on the East Coast in San Diego for a while.
Oh, wow.
It's just a home. You get rooted and you get grounded, and you can drive in Houston for an hour and still be in Houston, but it's
true.
It's very true. So, it's very nice. I have family here, so my mom's here.
Oh, nice.
Siblings live here. Cousins out the woodworks. But so it's very, again, it's just diverse, and I really enjoy Texas and being here in Houston.
Yeah, I love that too. We did a bunch of sort of day trips and different things out to different places, and I've been to a lot of cities in Texas, and you're right. The history part of it is so grand and so cool. I definitely love that about the state. But yeah, driving in Texas, you're just like, when I'm trying to get somewhere, I'm like, and I'm still here, and it's 8 hours later. It's just like, it's so big. It's so awesome. Yeah, and I remember in 2005 when Katrina happened, when so many people, lots of people stayed in New Orleans, but lots of people did leave, and Houston was a city that really embraced people and said, groovy, come on, and that was really cool. How is as far as, I know that there's been many hurricanes, but the last one, how is recovery going for all y'all there?
I think we're pretty much recovered from a point. Houston has a lot of flooding that happens when we get dumped on rain.
Right.
So in the last year or so, it's not really, we're not really worried about the hurricanes, as we've had downpours that just kind of flood the city because we're growing so fast, and it's a concrete, city. So there's nowhere to go with the water. So we tend to flood a little easier. But I think the recovery is great. I think the economy is strong here in Houston. The price of the barrel runs Houston. So
sure.
Because we're an oil city, so I think that price of the barrel has been at a good midpoint where it's thriving for everyone. There's lots of companies moving here. Big, we had Chevron and Schlumberger, Occidental. We have a large presence here. Even from a financial perspective, there's hospitals. There's lots of hospitals here for cancer patients, burn patients, and stuff like that. So definitely have a huge hub here in Houston. And we have 2 airports.
Right. And a lot of good food. I love that Montrose area of Houston. It's very colorful and also a lot of good food. I tend to kind of hang out there when I've come to the city. before and visited friends. It's kind of fun. That's awesome. So with what you're doing in oil and gas and all the, you mentioned search. Is there anything else that you feel right now is sort of that top of mind tipping point for companies as far as technology goes, that you're seeing maybe a trend of like, everybody's doing this or everybody should be doing that or that sort of thing? Is there anything that pops up besides the search?
Microsoft's pushing Microsoft Teams tremendously, right? So you're going to see a growth in collaboration, but also you're going to see a growth in support on the infrastructure side. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I mean your day-to-day operations. Our environment, we have probably 30,000 plus sites, and it grows frequently because we add more groups, we add more teams, we use Yammer as well. So I think search is definitely a hot topic. Microsoft Teams would be up next, but the Power Platform is the main one that I see, especially here, is just getting so large. Our numbers are just tremendous of what we support for 100,000 plus users. So we have 1,000 apps probably created a week.
Wow.
It's amazing how quickly we're growing. So
yeah. Will you talk a little bit exactly, like tell our listeners like what the Power Platform is and what that means?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yes. So when you hear Power Apps, when you hear Microsoft Flow, when you hear Power BI, the Power Platform is the back end that kind of manages and runs those workloads. Mm-hmm. So the Power Platform is comprised of those three things. Some people say Logic Apps and Dynamics. Mm-hmm. Dynamics is also part of the Power Platform, but it depends on how you consume it. Okay. So that's being used as a way to enhance citizen development. So what that means is that citizen developers, non-IT pros, can come in and quickly spin up an app, create a workflow for themselves without the help of a developer or an IT organization. So it's empowering the business to be able to build their own applications or workflows or reports and dashboards within a one area, right, and be able to manage those, right? So let's talk about governance. So with governance,
let's talk about it.
Let's talk about governance. Yep. It's the elephant in the room all the time.
Yes.
So when you have that capability of empowering citizen developers, you also have to have governance around it. So data loss prevention policies, you have to make sure that your permissions are being set up where you won't lose company data, because it's so easily to hook something up to a Power App and potentially lose, the integrity of the data. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things you have to think about. Who can create apps and who can create flows, and there's limitations and licensing and all this other stuff that you have to think about. So, definitely the Power Platform is something that can benefit to the business, and also to create more empowerment around creating solutions to solve business problems.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And I see the hashtag Power Addicts all over the place all the time with tons of colleagues. And I know that I see that with you too. Will you talk about that and what that is and how people might be able to get involved with that?
Yeah, so there's a T-shirt for that, just to let you guys know.
I've seen the T-shirt, yes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not snowboard apparel, just to let you guys know that, because there's a Power Addicts apparel line.
Okay.
But
that's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So Power Addicts is it's a bunch of Power Platform enthusiasts, right, or evangelists that's creating buzz and educating folks and showcasing their work. So it's almost like what we're doing in SharePoint Saturday is like, hey, you have an idea, right, you put together a presentation, you can go to SharePoint Saturday and show what you did on this migration. Mm-hmm. That's what Power Addicts is. It's a small, it's a group of folks that are coming together just like a community, from communities across communities, that can showcase anything from Power Apps, Flow, Power BI, So it's a really nice community that's built to, again, educate folks on the Power Platform.
Right. Awesome. So if you're looking up hashtag Power Addicts on Twitter and other things, you can get involved that way. But because people are putting on different webinars and hangouts, and there was one like on the 3rd that was like, come to a Power Addicts hangout, and those obviously seem to happen a lot. I keep seeing more and more. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that API guy.tech/Power Addicts, they host the hangout.
Oh, okay.
So it's a hangout once a month. I'm not sure exactly when they meet, but I know they meet once a month. Okay. And actually, my colleague was on the previous month with a couple other folks, but they were talking about governance on Power Platform and all that good stuff. So cool. Again, it's a good community if you want to talk about Power Apps Flow, if you have questions, or you want to hear what other people are doing. It's a really good community to be part of. Cool,
yeah. Well, everybody, we'll make sure, and I'll get the information. I'll put it in the show notes for sure, so people can follow up on that. That's awesome. I have another question. So I think from the Learn It All, Know It All, and then my Always Learning, I'm kind of obsessed with digital literacy, learning paths. Obviously, that's what I do with Content Panda, but I also do it in conjunction with just marketing and how do we, create those positive, productive places to work. I'm curious what you think about as far as, you obviously work in this every single day and you've come up, working on it for a long time. Do you feel that it's, to really get in, one, to keep up, I'm going to ask you 14 questions in one, so hang on. To keep up with everything that's happening, and then also for somebody who's trying to get ahead on learning, is it about like, go take classes, go do that, or just go get a job, learn on the job, or is it a combination of all things? I don't know. What do you think that learning path, or a learning path looks like, or what's worked for you? There you go.
Yeah. I mean, from a learning perspective, I'm no expert on training, but from my years of doing training and getting trained, there's different types of people, right? You have your doers that need to kind of learn and build, and you have people that can just watch a video and say, oh, I know how to do that, and go do it. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the people that need a little bit of hand-holding and more courses. So I'm seeing a lot now that there's so much self-help out there right now that people are going out and doing it on their own, whether they're taking a class, whether they're doing it, looking at Daniel Christian's Power Apps videos on YouTube, or Shane Young's Power App videos on YouTube, or going and taking a traditional class, or Pluralsight, those are, Wonder Laura stuff. There's so much, and even Content Panda. How about we build this cool intranet or this collaborative space? How can I get contextual hints on my screen to help the users get where they need to go? Right. So, it's really, there's a lot of mixtures of a bunch. So, but it depends too as well. Like, it depends on where the organization's journey is in Office 365. So if they're early in their journey, they might bring in some people to help training. They might buy a training platform, like Brainstorm. Houses all the Office training for them. It can track that stuff, or them, Content Panda that can help out as well. So it just depends on where they're at in their journey. And this organization is all self and helping each other. I can't tell you how many times, I don't have an office. I sit in an open cube area. People will walk by and see me sitting at my desk and come ask me a question. It's just because, we help each other. And I've done the same thing. I need the flow to pull data from SQL and read the specific table and put it in the SharePoint list, and be able to put some filtering on it. Well, I know this guy knows some really good OData querying, so let's go talk to him. So stuff like that. I mean, it's a community. And if you keep the community mentality in your organization, in your user base, you have a better success rate. Especially being trained. Sorry.
No, totally. No, I agree with you. I also, it's like, I love connecting with other people in the space, that, like, I know the Brainstorm folks and the Story All ladies and the, Vitalist, and we all sort of have come together under the auspices. Microsoft brought us together for that new Learning Pathways offering that they put out, and they brought us all together as partners, and we've been sharing, like, here's how we do what we're doing and how we're leveraging it and stuff. And I love that about it because, the world is big. There's a lot going on, and there's enough pie for everybody, in my opinion, and on the end user adoption level, like, I love, we partner with Combined Knowledge, but I was just in Australia with lovely Debbie Ireland, who does that kind of stuff, and Daryl Webster, who is from Adopt and Embrace, and Sarah Hussey, and I go see a lot of the presentations, because I'm like, I talk on that. What are they talking about? And we're all very close on at least the pillars or like the 10 steps of XYZ to do it. And I love that we're kind of coming together more and more on that. And, and then clients have the choice of, it's like, maybe I want somebody in my geography because it makes sense for it to be a New Zealand thing or whatever it is. But yeah, I am enjoying learning from the other colleagues and the other people who are building cool products, and I like that. It doesn't seem like as competitive, I guess, maybe. Or maybe that's just me, or I don't look at it that way, but,
Well, I mean, you have to know your competitors, too, right? You
totally.
have to know. But, every conference I go to, I will sit in sessions and sit there and, like you said, listen to what they're saying, listen to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Even if I don't speak on the session, or I go in a session, I spoke on that last week. What are they talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's always constantly educating yourself. And competition is good. It's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
As much as I would love to see Content Panda just like being everyone's intranet in the world,
yep.
There's a piece of pie for everyone, right?
Yeah,
so
agreed. Yeah, completely.
That's just you have the right attitude, and I think that's excellent.
Yeah, thanks. I try. For sure. So, what is the one thing that you love doing that has nothing to do with your work?
I love spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
I think kids are our greatest investment. Some folks, yes, they don't have kids. They find other investments. Mm-hmm. But I think when you have kids, that's your greatest investment, and it's helping shape their legacy and coming up into the world to be prosperous and to be to make a difference, right? So that's the most enjoyable thing that I do outside of work. The second one would probably just be running, going out for a run at a different park.
Right.
In Texas, when it's 110 degrees, I'm not going outside. I'm just saying, I'm going from my office to my truck to my house to in my house. So,
right.
But it's running. It's enjoyable for me. It's a one way to disconnect from everything because being so busy. If you constantly stay connected, gray hairs start coming out of my beard, and I don't want that. Not yet. So, but it's just you have to find a physical and a mental release to be healthy. Yeah. And I think in order to be the best you have to go find that mental and physical release. So when you're with your family or you come in the office, you can be the best you.
Yeah, I agree. It's becoming. I've been giving a presentation about becoming the expert of yourself, and I was like, I put that together, and there was some of it that's like, be hydrated, get outside, self-care, and it's people are like, I know that, and I'm like, yeah, but do you do it? Right? And I think we all sometimes need reminders of those things. So I love that question. So thanks for answering that. I'll hit you up with my last one. And it is and I love sharing this with our listeners. So something that an experience, whatever it comes to mind, but that's really sparked you, that was a real big force and an influence on where you are today and makes you who you are. Dun, dun, dun.
So I can name two people.
Cool.
For especially those, and this is one of them is not a general person. It's one of those. It's the person that really took risk of hiring me at a young point in my career and let me prove myself. And I've had a couple of those folks that did that. So as you know, coming through your career as an intern or you're a recent grad, you're a new hire. who's going to give you that chance? So I've had a couple people that's given me that chance to prove myself and for me to show how I can, benefit what we're bringing to the table. Another one is a person. It's my uncle. So in high school, I lived with one of my uncles up in Michigan. And he really pushed me to become a better person, become a better athlete. He really pushed me to become who I am today with hard work ethic and inspiration to not only make yourself better, but also make the people around you better.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am from Michigan. I don't know if you knew that. I was born there. So, yeah.
Go blue.
I know. Yeah, I've got Go Blue in my family, but I also have Go Spartans. So, and then I have some that popped down and were Boilermakers too. But yeah, Michigan's a beautiful place. I was just there for my aunt's 80th birthday, and when we live in these big urban centers, here I'm in Los Angeles, you're in Houston, and you don't have to go far afoot outside our cities to have big changes of the way people, socioeconomically and all that stuff. And it's always really good for me to go visit my family and remember, that I'm from a small town, and the values and also just the struggles that happen there are different, and I think we forget that sometimes living in our bubbles, me sitting here in, Marina Del Rey looking at the boats or whatever, and I love that, and where were you in Michigan?
I was actually, I graduated high school class of 2000 with about 70 people in Fenville, Michigan. So if you're familiar with that, it's south of Holland, Michigan, and north of Kalamazoo.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I know where
so
that.
On the west side.
Yeah, west side, and that Holland, Michigan, is one of the coolest places in the world. It's, with all of its windmills and everything. My grandfather actually created a windmill in the backyard. We were in Bay City, Michigan, and he created a working actual windmill because of Holland, Michigan, funnily enough.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. Well, awesome. Well, you're a love. I love talking to you and listening to you speak and talk about all this stuff. I really appreciate you being on and sharing your story with everybody today. It's great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate taking the time, and I appreciate what you do as well in the community, and thank you for your contributions to making SharePoint great again, right?
SharePoint's always been great, but it can everything can always be better, right? Another level on it for sure. So awesome. Well,
that's right,
Johnny. Thank you. Yay. So, and where am I going to see you next?
So Cincinnati is my next stop. I was going to do Los Angeles, but it just didn't work out with my schedule because I have my kids every other weekend.
Yeah, we're sad, but we understand. So yes.
Yeah, I'm always sad that I can't go to LA, but or San Diego, or Seattle, or anything like that.
Totally.
So if I signed up for Ignite. They sold out, so I'm on a wait list, just like everyone else.
Yep.
But I have Cincinnati. I'm thinking about doing San Juan if they have it.
Yep.
And what other ones I have on my list? I have to look at the SPS site.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely.
Are we still on?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you are interested in SharePoint Saturdays, they're global. So if you go to SamEvents.org. You can find out when the next event is and the one closest to you. As we spoke, Los Angeles is September 28th. We have Boston in October, Ottawa, Cincinnati, Denver. So I will be in Cincinnati next, and I think that might wrap up my year. I'm looking at Charlotte.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I think you're going to be in Charlotte?
I'm not sure yet. Not sure. Yeah. So I'm looking at Charlotte in December, but other than that, I think I'm done for the rest of the year. Yeah.
And then San Francisco in 2020, in February 2020, SP TechCon will be in San Francisco in February 2020.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Lots of opportunities to probably say hello and give you a hug. So yay.
Absolutely. Awesome. Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, again, thank you for being on. And folks, that was another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast. You can catch us on iTunes, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Google Play, all the normal wonderful places. And here is to another beautiful day on this big blue spinning sphere. Thanks, everybody. The original music on this podcast was created by Jesse Case.